So here we are. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at the classroom rules that are on that document that is on Canvas. So if you want to open yours up and follow along, you're welcome to, but I'm going to open it up here and hopefully you're going to see it on the TV screen here, and that way I can share it with the people that are going to watch this video. That's the B cohort that are going to come on Tuesday and Thursday, and also the kids who are online. So that's kind of the purpose of this. So I'm going to see if I can find this. So this is BC Calc. So I'm going to go to AP Prep. And I'm going to share this screen. Oops, I didn't do that right. So what I want to do is share my screen here with the people that are going to watch the video. So that's the reason I'm doing that. And then I'm going to, now they should see, hopefully that's what you do. So they're seeing what you're seeing, and I'm going to scroll down. So here's the classroom rules. I'm going to open that up and pull it up here. Okay, so if at any point in time you have a question, just go ahead and holler, because I want to make sure you know what we're doing and what my expectations are here. So it says we have the 6 Ps and the tribal rules. So I will get to the 6 Ps in a little bit. You can see there's a poster up there on the side wall for the people in class. For the people watching the video, I'm going to open up a document that will show that in a moment when we get to that part. Now, the tribal rules is what I have used in the past that may be a casualty of COVID right now, because I'm just not sure how much I can do that. So as we said before, I'm a huge believer in working in collaboration, and I'm going to talk about that in some detail today, that I think the best way to learn math is not locked up in your room by yourself working on it, but instead talking about it with other people. So you're going to hear this kind of as a recurring theme, especially in the first couple weeks here, that I'm really going to try to push you to do that. If you already do that, if you already kind of have like a study buddy kind of thing, or somebody, a friend that's also in AP Prep that you like to, get together with and do your homework with, terrific. You're right where I want you to be. If you're one of those, and sometimes you have heard this perhaps growing up, that you're just supposed to do it on your own, to use somebody else's work is not somehow good or fair or correct. But I want you to have that discussion and dialogue. And the authors of our textbook have written our textbook with that in mind. So to get the maximum benefit out of that, you really need to do that. And I'm going to talk about that in more detail down the road. And so we'll get to that. So the tribals, and I try to model that in class too, in a normal year, and this is clearly not normal. So there are lots of times when I would like to have you get your desk together and work in groups of 3 to 4 people. But I can't do that now because we're trying to maintain that 6-foot spacing. So I'm going to just skip over the tribal rules, and we may never get to that this year at all. If the situation changes, maybe by spring or something, where we can do that safely, then I'll bring it back and I'll talk about it there. But in a normal year, that would have been your second quiz, would have been on the tribal rules, where you could show that you know what those are, but I'm not even going to really get into that here. But I will get to the 6 Ps in a moment. So you can also see here that, food and drink, I don't care about that. Take care of your needs. Just be safe. Certainly water bottles are okay, and and I don't know how safe it is to have food and drink in here. You might be okay, but you can be the judge of that. Just, take care of your mess. So don't leave wrappers and stuff like that. That's the main thing there. I want you to be comfortable and attentive. So every day that you're in here, you will get a grade on this, and I'm going to talk about that now. So I'm going to walk over here and pull down the grading part. So you can see that on far right there is the grading scale. And this is the math department's grading scale. So there's A, B, C. There is no D in math. So, and I don't think any of us is striving to get a D anyway, but just so you see that. On the left side, you can see the test count a ton, and there will be quizzes, homework, process points, and notes. So I'll get to tests eventually. I know that's the part that usually gets people's heart thumping a little bit. I'll talk about that more in a minute. I'm going to work kind of my way from the bottom up. So let's first talk about the notes part. So my expectation is that when you're in class here, you're going to take notes. So anything that I put up on the board, I expect you to write down in your notes. And when you're at home and you're watching the video, then I expect the same thing. So you still need to take notes each day that you're in here. I think it helps you stay more engaged, and you don't tend to zone out. And all the brain research shows that the more senses you involve in your learning, the better retention that you get. And so if you're in class or watching the video and you can see what's being written on the board, you've got your sight involved, you can hear the explanation, and then when you're actually writing notes and you're using your kinesthetic sense, then the hope is that that's going to lock in and stick with you a little bit better. Now I'm going to grade notes because I'm only going to see you every 2 days. I'm going to grade notes every time you come to class and I see you. So on a typical day, so if we'd already been going and we're kind of in mid-flow now of the class, when you come in here, I would probably have some review problems on the board. And then I'm going to ask you to hold up your notebook so that I can kind of look from a safe distance and see 2 days worth of notes, because I'm going to have to see 2 days at a time. So notes from the last 2 days. So today's Monday, it would have been normally Thursdays and Wednesdays notes, one of which you did live in class, probably if you attended, and the other one you would have done off the video. Okay, now when I grade notes, it's just going to be a 1 if you have 90% of what I put up on the board down in your notes. I'm going to put a 1 in my grade book, and that's 100%. And if you have less than 90%, then it's a 0. So it's just all or none. Okay, I just want you to be active, engaged, and then have something that you can refer back to if you need it. Okay, so easy points. Process points, same kind of story. Process points is if you're going to follow the 6 Ps, which we're going to talk about shortly here. And so basically you're in class, you're engaged, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing here. And that's going to be a 1 or a 0 also. So if you have followed the 6 Ps, I will enter a 1 in my grade book. And if you didn't follow the 6 Ps, then I'm going to put in a 0. Okay, it's all or none. When you get to the homework. So homework 2, I've been wrestling with how to do this. So I'm a huge believer in homework. I think the most important thing you do in this or in any math class is the homework. You just have to wrestle with the material, struggle with it. Sometimes you need to shed a little blood, sweat, and tears over it. And that's how it sticks in your mind. Now, I don't want you working on an island by yourself. We talked about that before. I'm going to keep mentioning that. So if you do get stuck and you do have troubles with it, do something about it. Use your resources. So one thing that you can do, that I hope you do, is you can contact somebody, if you know somebody else in the class, call them up, text them, whatever you want to do, FaceTime them, and you can work on the problem together. That's an awesome way to go. I really want you to do that. When we talk next year in AP Calculus, one of the huge skills you learn when you go to college is to form study groups. And so that's essentially what I'm trying to promote here, is to form your own study group. You take that ownership, you take the initiative, reach out to a friend or 2 or 3 and find somebody that you can work with. Okay, so that's one option. There are going to be, like we said on Canvas, there's the support materials. At the end of the module, you'll see that there are some other videos that I have made, some Khan Academy style videos. You can certainly go to those and find the part that looks like it's addressing the problem that's stumping you on the homework, and you can try to watch it maybe multiple times if that helps, and do that. Okay, so the key is to use your resources. Don't let the fact that you get stumped keep you from attempting every single homework problem. So homework, I believe, is a place where you need to make the make mistakes. And I'm not going to grade your homework for accuracy. When possible, I'm going to try to give you odd-numbered problems so you can check the answers in the back. So I want you to do that on your own. Make sure that you get that confirmation that you're doing it correctly because you got to the right answer. But I'm not going to grade it right or wrong. It's not going to affect your grade whether you're getting them right or not, but it will affect your grade whether you're trying it. So in, again, a typical day, which this is not yet because we're just getting started, I'm going to check homework in the same fashion that I check your notes. I'm going to ask you to hold it up, and again, it'll be 2 homework assignments because I'm going to check the previous 2 days. And what I'm looking for is, have you attempted 90% of the problems? Again, I'm not checking to see if they're right or not. I just want to know, have you tried all of the problems or 90% of them? If so, I'm going to put a 2 in my grade book. Okay, and that's full credit. If you haven't, I'm going to put in a 0. But I'm going to throw out a lifeline. You can get one of those 2 points back if you complete the homework, if you do the whole thing and show it to me before we take the test. Does that make sense? Okay. Online people are going to have to email it to me. So you're going to have to take a picture of your notes and take a picture of your homework and email it to me. And that's going to have to be every day. That'll be on a daily basis. So if I don't see, we're not going to have a homework assignment today, but tomorrow, if I don't see that homework number 2 by Wednesday, then online people, that's going to be a 0. You can still gain back 1 point if you show me that you've completed it before you take the test. Questions on that? Okay, so far we've got the 5% for the notes, the 5% for process points, and even the 15% for the homework. That's purely effort grade. Okay, so if you are working at it, engaged, and really trying, there is no reason you can't get all of that 20%. Now, quizzes are going to be where we both get some feedback, where I can see, are you really understanding the material, and you can find that out as well. So, and it's going to be kind of weird this year because of the situation we're in. But normally what I want to do is, so not that we're alternating days. If I introduce a lesson for the first time on Monday, you may see it and it's new. You're going to have a homework assignment on that. The next time I see you, say Tuesday, you would get a chance to ask questions on the homework. And then, I would hopefully answer them and clarify that. Then the next time, Wednesday, that now becomes fair game in my mind for a quiz. Okay, so what I'm trying to do on a quiz is see, are you understanding the material that we're teaching here at the depth that I want you to? So not just superficial, but are you really understanding what it is we're talking about here, the way I want you to, the way I'm going to ask you to do it on a test? And are you keeping up with the pace of it? That you're not lagging behind, because you haven't gotten to the homework and haven't figured out how to do that stuff yet. So when we do quizzes, my hope is you're going to do very well. You're going to get, 80, 90, 100% on those. Okay? If not, that is giving us each feedback that we need to do something different. Okay? So if you're not doing well on quizzes, that's sending out a warning signal to you and to me that we better get together and figure this out before we get to that test, which is 65% of your grade. And, that could be, has the potential for disaster there. So you should have some idea of where you are and how you're progressing in this chapter before we actually get to the test. Okay? And it's going to be weird this year. I'm trying to debate how to do it. I don't really like doing quizzes online and Canvas and stuff like that. So what I think I'm going to try to do, it's going to be a grand experiment. So we have to play with it as we go. So what I will probably do is when we get ready for a quiz, I'm going to give you the quiz here in person on the A day. And then when I see the B cohort, I'll give them the quiz and they'll do it in there. And then I'm going to have to somehow send it online to the kids who are online that I won't actually see in person, and they're going to have to do it and email me their results there. That's just, I think, about the best I can come up with. But that will just start out that way anyway, and see how that goes. I hope that works out. Okay. Uh-oh. Lost it here. Okay. So we've got notes, process points, homework, quizzes, and of course the big one is tests are 65%. So the hope is that all the work that you've done up until then has helped prepare you to be successful on the test. Okay, that you have, you've been attentive and engaged in class. You've taken notes. You have followed the 6 P's, and you're paying attention in class. So you're doing well there. You've attempted 90% of all the homeworks. You're asking questions when you run into something you don't understand. You've gotten feedback on the quizzes, and so you're either doing well on the quizzes, or if you haven't done well, you've taken steps before we take the test to come in and see me, and we'll try to get you up to speed there, and then you're going to take the test. And so tests are going to be generally 90 minutes. Some of the early ones won't be quite that long. When we do a test, everybody will take it at the same time in person on a Friday. So I will schedule it for a Friday morning, and I will try to find some big space. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to look into that today. And maybe it's going to be the cafeteria, or maybe it's going to be the theater. So it'll be all the AP, both Period 1 and Period 4 AP Prep and the online kids. Everybody's going to be in there taking the test. And maybe if it works out just by the timing, there may be AP Calculus kids taking their test. I'm not going to give you the AP Calculus test just yet. The BC kids might be in there too. So you'll be in there, you'll socially distance, you'll get your test, you'll work it. When you're finished, you'll bring it to me, and then you can leave whenever you're done there. And that's 65% of your grade. So, but I'm going to throw you a lifeline there. So if you have a disaster on the test, and you can decide what a disaster is, sometimes that's different for different people, then you have an opportunity to retake. But there's a process that you have to go to be eligible to retake the test. And so it goes something like this. You have to come in and see me outside of class. So that can be before school, after school. Friday mornings would be a great time. We can even do it through Zoom if we need to. If our schedules are just really hard to coordinate, we can do that. What I will do is I will first have you make corrections on the problems that you got wrong on the test. And that may mean I have to reteach it to you, because if you don't know what you did wrong, then I can give you an explanation. You can make the corrections. Once you've made corrections, I will quiz you on problems that you got wrong. I will make up problems like those and ask you to work them and watch you work them, so that I can see, do you understand how you should have done it differently? Okay, and we'll kind of walk through that. And that's the part that's open-ended time-wise. How long that takes just depends. And how many mistakes you made, and how long it takes for you to figure out how to do it right. But that quizzing process goes until we're both convinced that you really know it better. And then what you have to do is retake the entire test sometime outside of class. So you can come in again after school. You can come in during the Friday mornings. I'll give you a second version of the test. It won't be identical to the first one. And then I will grade that. And then I will take a 10% penalty, so you get 90% of the score you got the second time. So the best you can do on a retake is, if you got a perfect retake, would be a 90. So there's not really any point in retaking a test that you got like a 93 on, because you're not going to get any better. If you go through the whole process and you end up doing worse on the retake, I'll just keep your original score. So you can't do any worse than you did the first time by trying to do better, because it's really trying about really mastering the material is the key part there. And you have to finish that process before our next test. So you can't wait till, the end of the semester in January and go, oh man, I'm so close to an A. I'd like to go retake that test we took back in September. So the window for retaking closes when we take the next test. Questions on that? All right. So let's talk a little bit about the 6 Ps. This is where, again, I'm going to get challenged here. So let's see if I can do this smoothly. or maybe not even smoothly, just successfully. So here is our 6 Ps. So people in class now have, they can see the poster version of the 6 Ps, or you can watch it on the TV screen that we have here. People watching the video are just going to only see the video screen. So this is our classroom rules. This is also going to be your first quiz. So as we do this, I'm going to jot this down here, and then I will bring this up on the camera in a minute so that the people that are watching this on the video can see it too. So the first P is prompt. And when you do this, when you do the quiz, I don't care. I'm gonna try doing it on Canvas. I don't know if that's gonna work or not. We'll see. But when you do, so the order on these doesn't matter. So prompt is one of them you're gonna have to get. So what I mean by that is you need to be on time. And we're gonna be a little probably lenient here, at least in the beginning, because this whole how do you get to school and how do you negotiate bathrooms and all of that kind of stuff is a bit challenging in these days and times. So, but in generally, you need to be on time. Okay. And so if you don't, then you lose your process points for that day. And like I said, that's a 1 or a 0 kind of deal here. The school has, I'm sure, some kind of policy. It kind of changes from year to year. I'll try to get up to date on that and see what it is. So I will follow whatever the school policy is too. I know in the past it's been if you're tardy too many times and it gets to be a pain, I think I've seen them just line you up against a brick wall and shoot you because it's just gotten to be too much trouble. So the point is to try to make it less trouble to get here on time than it is to be tardy. So that's the first one, is be on time. So second one is to be prepared. And so being prepared means to bring your materials to class. Bring materials to class. So if you write that down on the quiz, you've gotten full credit. There's going to be a 12-point quiz, 1 point each for the 6 Ps, and then another point for the brief description of what that means. So that means bring your pencil and paper. We're going to be doing a lot of notes and stuff in here. We'll be working lots of practice problems. You don't really need to bring your book on most days because there probably won't be time to actually do homework in here. That's going to be, the expectation is you're going to do that outside of class. And if there's a rare day when that's going to happen, I'll try to let you know in advance, or we'll probably have a few at least spares that we can maybe use that way there. Now it also means, take care of yourself. This is first period and there's also a fourth period. So you need to make sure that you've done what you can so that you can focus and, concentrate on what's going to be sometimes some really challenging ideas in here. So that means, get enough sleep the night before. It means try to get up and get some breakfast so you can be sustained. Some of you are coming from, morning practices. Make sure you have something to eat between, practice in here so you don't collapse here halfway through, or it just sounds like a dial tone in your head because you've run out of fuel. So that's part of being prepared. And I don't know right now how much, probably you're going to have to bring your laptop or your Chromebook with you anyway. I'm not sure how much we're going to use that every day, but at least initially it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to bring. I know that means you got to lug a lot of stuff around. You look like you're going through the airport with your backpack on wheels there, but that's kind of the way it is, I think. So third P is polite. And so the key phrase there for polite is to treat people with dignity and respect. Treat people with dignity and respect. So certainly that means that when you're here that you treat me, the teacher, with dignity and respect. You're polite, that your classmates, anybody that might come in as a visitor. So if we were ever to have a sub, I don't have that very often, but if we should, please help them out as a visitor in our classroom. We also do this weird thing that when a visitor enters into our classroom, we clap for them to welcome them into our room. First time that happens, sometimes it throws people a little bit and they're a little off balance. For some administrators, it kind of discourages them from coming in here, which is not really the purpose, but it's kind of an unintended benefit. I'm okay with that. Okay, so that is, now it also means I have to be upfront with you. So one of my issues, one of my buttons that is things like racial ethnic jokes or slurs, gay bashing. I don't even like dumb blonde or stupid man jokes. So that's something that kind of takes me from 0 to, off the chart right away. So let's just have an understanding and an agreement here that will not have any of that in here. I think we just want to promote a culture in here of respect and where it's easy to learn. We'll all learn better that way, I think. Okay, PMA is the next one, and PMA stands for positive mental attitude. And so that's what you are going to need to write. And we'll do this. Positive mental attitude. So the idea with this is that bad things can happen to good people. As young adults, you are aware that there are many things in your life that are beyond your control. And so we can't always have control of what happens to us, but we do have a choice as to how we're going to respond to that. Okay, what is our response? And so what I'm trying to say is, you could, Lord knows, have a fender bender in the parking lot coming to school in the morning. You could spill your breakfast on the front of your shirt. You could, have a fight with your parents, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, on your way over here. Any number of bad things can happen to you, but you still have a choice as to what is your response to that going to be. And so we will all be able to learn better in here if you don't inflict your bad day on everybody else. Try to choose to get to a better place, a better attitude. So I have a poster up there that, believe it or not, that at one time was a pink poster. That's the power of the sun fading that. I'm going to pull it up here so that the people that are watching this video can see it as well. Where's the beginning of it? Okay, so I don't know if it'll pick up with the mic, but does anybody have good enough eyes that they can read that from their seat out loud and try to project so maybe it can get picked up here? Is there a volunteer that would be willing to try to do that? I know that's a lot of pressure. Oh, we have to give a hand to Sage for being willing to take that risk for the sake of learning. So Sage is going to give it a shot. Do you need to walk over there or can you see it?
The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than the facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than success, than what other people think, say, or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. A remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% how I react, and so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes.
And I'm going to scroll down just, and you don't have to read, I'll just say it. I'm not sure how you say this guy's name, Charles Swindoll or Swindoll, I'm not sure. But he's the guy that gets the credit for that. Okay? So I think that's really true. So what we're trying to get at here, with our 6 Ps and all this, is we're trying to create an environment in here where it feels safe. Now, in past years, we'd run outside in this beautiful sunny morning, we'd do this little exercise and come back and process it. I can't figure out how to do that given the situation we're in now. But the idea is that through that exercise, what I would have tried to do is to try to let you know that to learn involves taking risks and making yourself vulnerable. And so what we need for all of us to learn the best in here is for it to be safe enough to take a risk for the sake of learning, to take a risk and know that that we're not going to be put down or made fun of or mocked in any way. And so that's really the idea behind all of this, the 6 Ps, that we want this to be a nurturing environment, a safe environment, and where we can, admit that we don't know how to do something, or that we can make a mistake and not, be shamed or made fun of because we made that mistake. That we can, have the ability to say, I think we should do it this way, and then change your mind on that and say, oh, maybe what I said that was wrong, or maybe there's actually a better way, and that there's not going to be some kind of negative consequence from the rest of the group because we are going to change direction, change our mind kind of thing. So that I think is going to be critical, and so we'll talk about that a lot in here. That's the kind of the purpose behind these. So that's positive mental attitude. And the next one is participate. And I guess I should probably bring that back up for a moment. Can I do this? Let's see. Okay, so then we've got, and those got in a different order than I have them on the poster here. I'm going to do participate. So what we want there is to participate in class activities. So that is to enthusiastically participate, willingly participate. So we aren't going to be able to work, I don't think, too much in groups in here, unfortunately, at least not at this point in time. But I am going to try to, another way I try to do this is bring people to the board. And so I think we can still do that. We're going to have to safely distance, but at various times I will have, the people in the back are going to go to the whiteboards, and the people in the front here will come to the chalkboard. But as you're doing that, you'll be working on the same problems and, consulting and collaborating and so on. We'll talk about that more tomorrow when we actually start doing some real math in here. But the idea is you're going to participate in the activities. And then finally, we have produce. And so we are going to produce work. So that will take various forms. Sometimes that's going to be notes when you're here in class. Sometimes that's going to mean doing homework. And of course, you're going to do quizzes and that kind of stuff as well. Okay, let's see. I want to talk about, I'm going to bring up another screen here. This is another poster we have in class. And so you can see it in class. It's that green poster there. And then I've also got it up on the screen here. So this is something that I really believe in, and you've heard me talk about a little bit already in terms of I'd like you to do your homework with somebody else, not by yourself, and that the authors of our textbook wrote the textbook with that in mind, that you aren't going to be working, like the Lone Ranger locked up in your room all by yourself, but rather you're going to be talking about the problems with somebody else and collaborating with other people. So what the research, this William Glasser does research on how people learn, and so what he found is that 10% of what we read, we remember and learn. Kind of discouraging, I think, a little bit, that you remember that little of it. The good news is I'm not going to say read chapter 1, and I'm going to give you the test on that on Friday. Good luck. So that's not a great way to learn. 20% of what we hear we remember, so a little bit of improvement, but not really the place where we want to be, what we're striving for. 30%, what did I say? 30% of what we see, and then 50% of what we both hear and see. So here again, as you involve more senses, then you start to get more improvement. And that's what we talked about with notes. where you're going to get the hearing and seeing, and then also we're going to try to throw in the kinesthetic sense when you actually write it down there. But now we start to get into the parts that we want to get. That's 70% of what you experience personally. So this is where the doing your homework really is important. When you're wrestling with those problems and struggling with them and trying to figure them out, you're experiencing that personally, and that is going to lead up to now 70%, which is much better, but still not what we're after. Now, the remarkable thing, maybe, I think the first time you see it anyway, you may have seen this before, but if you've actually been a teacher, this is not a surprise. 95% of what you teach, you remember and learn. Okay, so something about explaining to somebody else how to do something, what you know, your understanding of the problem, really locks it into your own head, and you remember it and then understand it the best. So that's another kind of reason, or another reason why we're trying to work collaboratively. So when you, and also to encourage you to ask questions. So when you're working with a friend or a couple friends and you ask them a question, you're giving them the opportunity to get the best learning experience of all when they try to turn around and teach it and explain it to you. Okay, and so that's what we're going to try to create as best we can, given the 6-foot spacing in here when we come to the board. We're looking for opportunities for you to explain it to somebody else, and you can try to do that also as you do your homework. Okay, let's see. What else? Let me pull up this document again. We still have it there. I think I might have to go back. I think I've lost this. Let me pull it back up here. Make sure that I have talked about what I need to talk about. So let's see. So we talked about the 6 Ps, and we're not going to talk about the tribal rules now. Now bathroom passes, and here again, I'm not sure how to deal with this. So we're going to have to kind of see. Normally, I really try to encourage people to stay in here and not leave. And so what I've done in the past is, if you leave, then if you don't leave at all in the quarter, I'll give you like a bonus extra credit in your process points grade just as incentive. But I'm not sure if we're going to try to do that or not, because I know that the bathrooms may be an issue. We'll have to just see and play that by ear. So we may revisit this down the road a little bit. But if you do leave, if you move that whiteboard over where you can see the schedule, there's a place to sign out. So you can bring your own pencil, put your name, what time you left, what time you returned. I don't think it's a great idea. There is a bathroom pass, but probably we shouldn't be sharing that. So why don't we just, you'll have to go without anything and plead your case if the hall police stop you for that. We'll come back and maybe revisit that down the road. So we talked about homework. I want to see the work, because I won't accept homework if I don't see the work that leads to it. I'm not going to dock you if it's not correct. We talked about notes. We talked about process points. You're still responsible for what's going on. Absences, that's not as big a deal here because everything's online. So of course, if you're not here on a day, then you have to go to Canvas, watch the video, take notes on it, and do the homework that day. Sometimes that gets a little bit less clear when it's not all online. So make sure you bring a pen or a pencil. Have some large source of paper. You guys have all done well to get here, so hopefully by now you have some kind of organizational scheme that works with you. Generally, I don't want you to be on your phone in here. It's kind of weird now. If we end up having to go on Canvas, then there may be an exception to that. I'm here before and after school, and there we have it. I think that pretty much takes care of it. So can I go back to this? Okay, so now I believe that the people that are watching the video can, here's what we wrote down for the 6 Ps on the board. So that's what you're going to need to know for the quiz. And we're back here seeing what's going on here. Questions on any of this? Okay, so kind of what I wanted to talk about, and I mentioned this a little bit before, but just to reiterate, this is going to be probably a faster pace, higher expectation class than what you experienced in Algebra 2. And for some of you there, it may be a seamless transition, which is terrific. Others may not experience the same success you've had before when we get around to taking those tests. So the key there is to, if you don't have the same success you've had before doing what you did before, do something different. And so I am here to give you ideas and suggestions about how to do that, and we'll talk about it as we go along as well. A big thing that I see is like a quality of effort thing. So some people approach their homework, some people even come to class or watch the videos with this idea of they have this to-do list and their goal is to cross things off as quickly as they can. So it's about getting through it as quick as you can and not having anything along the way that's going to slow you down or impede that progress so you can get finished and do what you really want to do. So what I'm saying is try to have a frame of mind, where when you come to class, you're going to really try to understand what's going on. When you watch those videos, seek that understanding. You really get what's going on there, that you're really trying to connect things and make sense of it. When you're doing the homework, just don't try to get through it, but see if you can understand not only how to do the problems, but why might they have asked you these different kinds of problems. Our book is going to throw in some problems that are kind of like curveballs. They're going to be things like, oh, wow, I don't remember talking about that in class exactly. When I look through the textbook, they don't do examples on this kind of problem. And they do that with intent to make you think a little more deeply, to discuss with somebody else, and to see, how does this connect to what we've been doing before? So my I guess, encouragement is to try to approach it kind of with that frame of mind, that you're going to, when you sit down to do your math, you're going to put in that kind of quality of effort, that it's not just going to be something that you're going to try to get through as quick as you can. And that sometimes takes practice. Some people have done that for a while, but some people that might be something new and different. Okay, I will offer for you as we get closer, and I actually have, I don't know if I wrote it down. I know when we're going to take that first test. Let me see. I'll walk back here. Check, it's not going to be for a couple weeks yet. So on Friday, September 18th, we'll be taking our first test. I'm going to try to look into today. I'm going to see if I have to reserve a place, and I got to figure out, because we'll be at that time, actually everybody's going to be ready to test at the same time. So I'll have all of my classes will be testing, so I'm going to have to find a location that can house about 100 plus people. So yeah.
And if we're gone on that Friday?
Yeah, and that's going to happen. I know a lot of people with sports and stuff, Fridays especially are tough. So that's going to be kind of like what we do if we were just normal in person. So if you're not going to be there on Friday morning, whenever I can get something scheduled, then we just have to work out something else. So you just need to communicate with me, and we can do it, after school someday. I don't know. We'll have to brainstorm how we can do that. But we just come in and find a time and a place to do that. Okay, good question. Other questions? So I almost forgot this discussion board. And a student in another class suggested that because we were talking about how I'd like you to be able to discuss, and I know that in the era of COVID, that it may not be possible for you to get 2 or 3 of your friends together in somebody's dining room table and work around there and do it, or to go to Coal Creek and get a seat and sit around there close enough to look at each other's work. So another option that we might be able to do, and I've never done this, but we can try it, is this discussion thing that I have tried to make available on Canvas. So I believe what we can do is you can at any time go on there and you can post a question that every other AP Prep student can see. And so if you get stuck on like number 7 or something, you say, does anybody know how to do number 7? Or it could be something like, I don't get this whole average rate of change thing. Can somebody explain that to me? So it could be a specific problem or it could be a concept. And then anybody else can respond to that and continue and respond to responses. So somebody else could say, oh, you know, I tried doing it this way. And you could either explain it, or I'm hoping that, I don't think I got it yet, but I'm going to work on it today, where you could actually, you know, take a picture of your problem and post it up there and say, here's how I did it. And then you could still have that dialogue back and forth, like, I didn't get what you did between this step and this step. And then somebody else could say, oh, I did it a different way. You know, here's how I did it. And maybe they're both correct, or maybe one's more efficient, or maybe one's wrong, and people can say, I think on this step you made a mistake. It should really be this, and so on. Okay? I can monitor that as well. I'd rather, you know, because the best learning experience is to teach it to somebody else, I'd rather you get that opportunity. But then if if the discussion takes a wrong turn and you start saying, oh, this is the way to do it, and it's really mathematically wrong, I can jump in and say, well, actually, really you should need to go this way, and let me steer you this way. Or if somebody posts something and nobody can figure out, I couldn't get that problem either. What the heck is Mr. Street asking us here? We never talked about this, and I can jump in and, you know, help you out that way. So it's a way maybe to do that online. So we can give it a try. I don't know if it's going to be valuable or not. You're not going to be graded on it. You don't have to do that. It's just an option. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here. I think we're good. And